So, just another, I suppose, very quickie video, but I think we're closing in on a very interesting time. And that is that, well, Theresa May is running out of fudge. You know, there was a very good article on the BBC all about this. You know, that Theresa May is running out of Brexit fudge. She can no longer say that there might be, this magical example, essentially try and really fudge it. She is coming down, literally, it's crunch time. It's binary decisions. It's either a yes or a no answer. And even the EU and their diplomats have said, what are you doing? You can't fudge this. You've either got to say yes or no, and that's it. You're either in the customs union or you're out of it, and we can start to work on a free trade agreement. But she won't even commit to these arguments because she's putting party interests first in an attempt to try and keep the party together rather than what lies in the best interests of this country, which is to stay in the customs union and the single market. Which basically means we become like Norway. And like it or not, that is the best option for us. And eventually we'll rejoin. That I have no doubt in my mind that we will rejoin. Possibly in about 10 years' time, because that's probably what's going to happen. And if not, congratulations, guys, you fucked over this country. And to the people who think that Jacob Rees-Mogg is a really good politician and would make an amazing Prime Minister, bear this in mind now. What him and his ilk are doing is essentially backseat driving, saying, we can do better than you should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should have never agreed to that, you should have done this instead. Hindsight is a wonderful thing to these people, but as I have said multiple times, Theresa May is sitting on a one-legged stool. And any time, if they wanted, these guys could just knock her off it and replace her. So why haven't they done so and put one of their guys in charge? Well, I'll tell you this why. I'll tell you this exactly now. They know how much of a clusterfuck Brexit is going to be. And they're the ones that instigated it. They know this is going to be an absolute disaster. So what they want is they want someone to blame it on. And I guarantee you, these will be the three culprits. They will first of all go after Remainers. Anyone who was Remainer, it's your fault, you didn't back us, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. We've heard it all before. Just because we lost in the referendum doesn't mean we can stop making the argument. That's democracy. Something which apparently you guys are meant to be valuing, but when we speak out and talk about all these concerns and the fact that nothing is being done about it, and the fact that we raised these concerns before and people went, we'll vote for it, and then now some of these things are coming true, you're going, no, you're just a Ramona. I'm sorry, but there are facts and there are reality. And if those facts and reality do not match your fantasies, then you have to come out of fantasy land and start facing reality. And start facing the hard decisions that Brexit is just not worth it. The second people who will get blamed is Theresa May. Because that's why she's being left where she is. So that when it does all go wrong, and that whoever replaces her can say, it wasn't my fault, it was Theresa May and her government's fault. That's why he's not in the cabinet. Even though he was offered a cabinet position. Because he doesn't want to take any of this blame. So that he can continue and all his buddies can continue backseat driving in this position. So the other people they will blame the EU. Because, blaming the EU has worked so well in the past. Look, you look at all these decisions that they blame the EU for, and when you get right down to the nitty-gritty, it was never in the EU's power to do this. It was always a governmental power. This country is always and has been remained a sovereign country. You know, Parliament can make rules, it can do these things, but it was always convenient for these guys to blame, oh, it's the EU's fault, this is why we're failing, this is why British fishermen are doing so bad, when they had absolute every power to change things for fishermen, and actually even go to the EU and make a case that our fishermen aren't doing as well, so we need to make a change. Okay? This was always, and it was within their power to do so. They just chose not to do because it was politically good for them at the time to blame the EU. And continuing to blame the EU, even when they have no influence or even say, you know, what goes on in this country anymore, will somehow still be a political tool for them. So basically, we're left with a very shit situation where people are putting party interest before the country's interest. And the country's interest lie with us remaining in the European Union. That was always the case before, it will be the case now, and it will be the case after. That is, and I'm sorry to say if you're pissed off that I'm saying that, but that is the case. There have been the government studies, and we've had another study come out which has confirmed the government's findings, and they went into the free trade agreement as well, which showed how bad the free trade agreement would be. You know, you need to listen to experts, and I'm sorry if that expert doesn't agree with your fantasy. But that's the case we're in. So, yeah. Interesting times ahead, because Theresa May now has to start saying either yes or no. If she says no, she risks upsetting her hard Brexiteers in her cabinet, which will then fracture her party. If she says no to some things, she also risks upsetting the large portion of people who are Remainers. And by the way, one thing you need to know is that these people are growing, because a lot of them were told by the former leadership and by other people that we would leave the EU politically and become like Norway. Now, they are campaigning for single market and customs union. They are not hard Brexiteers, but those are the two things they want, because they understand that leaving those two things will leave us in a really awful state. Not only short-term, mid-term, but we are talking incredibly long-term consequences. So that is where we are, folks. So yeah, enjoy. Because remember, guys, you voted for it. I didn't. It's your fault, not mine. And by the way, we told you so.